Good morning, folks. This is Tim Foster, who is a co-owner and chief executive officer at Northern Woods Wellness LLC in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And welcome to our first full week of the Find Your True North video blog and podcast series. So just so you know, we are doing this on YouTube as a video blog, as well as on podcasts, wherever you get them. So on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, we also have access to our podcasts and audio there. So check out both. When you check out on YouTube, you're going to get more visuals, which I might be sharing some more skills and handouts using visuals. So I highly encourage checking out the video blog series. It's just go to YouTube, type in Find Your True North video blog series, and type in Timothy Foster. It should pop up. You can also find it on our website at northernwoodswellnessllc.com. But today what I want to do is I want to talk about a very important subject that's close to my heart and close to my family's heart and also my wife's. So Kaylee is also a co-owner, but Kaylee and I both have been sober for over a year, and I consider myself to be an alcoholic. I have for a while, but it may not be the way that you're thinking it is. So the way I view alcoholism, and a lot of what the diagnostic statistical manual does, is a number of consequences that end up happening due to alcohol use. Many people in popular psychology view alcoholism as being quantity over, quantity of drinks, number of drinks that you've had, but really it's actually the consequences that come from the alcohol use. And I'll tell you what, I had many, many consequences throughout my life that I continued to ignore, even up until about a little over 2 years ago. So currently I am about 2 years fully sober, had a couple slip-ups in there, but going on about 4 years with being in the process of recovery. So I like to admit that, and it's actually the first time I've ever admitted that to publicly is on this video blog and podcast. So yeah, take with that what you will, but it's something I'm very, very proud of. And my wife is over a year sober as well too, and honestly, we've had the best relationship we've ever had throughout our entire 12 years of knowing each other, and it's been really, really special. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because it is Alcohol Awareness Month. It is Alcohol Use Awareness Month here throughout the states. And particularly in Wisconsin, it's something that we probably want to continue to have discussions about because Wisconsin is notorious for excessive drinking, binge drinking, alcohol dependence. And being a person who grew up in the Wisconsin area, I always just assume that that level or that intensity of binge drinking was just what was normal. But throughout my life journey and my travels, quickly came to find I was kind of the odd one out. I was the weird one. I was the one that wanted to party, that wanted to go and have Jaeger bomb shots, that wanted to go and the goal was to get messed up. And quickly realized that was not the case. The first realization I had that was in Minneapolis. So I went to school at U of M and realized that was a college setting, but I realized that I still was a little bit more of an outsider, still looking for more party atmosphere than most of my colleagues were. But that wasn't enough to change my behaviors at all. I continued to disregard it. I still got good grades, still passed, still graduated with a good GPA, and it wasn't really anything for me to really write home about. I also chalked it up to just being a college kid. But I don't think it's good or healthy to keep doing that for our college students. We have to kind of keep calling that out. Even as college kids, there is still the challenge of developing an alcohol dependence use disorder. And I think that's what happened to me. I just got used to learning how to cope with life with alcohol. And then even despite signs of awareness, signs of warning signs, I continued to use. And that's just what the DSM, our diagnostic manual, says. Continued use despite ongoing signs and consequences that are happening. So I want you to think about that in your own life. Do I continue to use alcohol? Or really any other substance? Do I continue to use that despite signs of problems, despite warning signs, despite spending a lot of time acquiring it, spending a lot of money, having relationships get exhausted from alcohol use? Think about that and be honest with yourself. Is that something that does happen? Because I know it's something that I normalize, and it's something we probably don't want to be normalizing in our life. And it's actually shifting quite drastically throughout our current culture. If you actually look at some of the research right now, a large portion of the younger generation are no longer binge drinking. They're moving away from it. And I think that's tremendously healthy. Being a person who's in recovery, I don't ever want someone who's 16 like myself to grab their bottle for the first time, because that's the point where you start to learn how to cope with your emotions. I think it's up until age 25 that our brain is developing. And if we incorporate alcohol or cannabis or other, coffee even, we are teaching our brain that we need to rely on other substances. And our brain is not fully developed, so that malleability of our brain is now getting dependent upon that substance. So I just really want you to think about that throughout this month. Alcohol awareness. How often are we using? Is it causing problems? Are we aware of the consequences that are occurring? There's a lot of different things to consider when you're considering a possible alcohol use disorder. And just know that just because society, maybe in Wisconsin or in the Midwest, says it might be okay, and that's not anything beyond quote unquote normal use, it still can very well be impacting you. So for me, I was what we call a weekend warrior. I felt functional alcoholic. I would work really hard throughout the weekday, and I felt like I earned the weekend to go and party. But then I sat with it a while and realized, how is that a reward? How is going out, having fun, blacking out, and being hungover for the entire weekend and not doing your chores and wasting money, how is that a reward for a well-earned hard work of week of work? I had to really sit with that. My brain had connotated fun with alcohol, and then it connotated fun as a reward, but indirectly, alcohol was actually the reward, and it was taking away from my life. It was literally stealing my life. And I like to view it that way. Alcohol steals your health. It steals your life. It's a thief. It steals things from you. And it took me forever to be able to put the bottle down. In fact, I actually had to go to my doctor and get on an alcohol deterrent. It was like an alcohol aversion medication called disulfiram. And if you are looking for ways to quit alcohol, that is a really solid way to do it. I'll tell you what, though, if you do try to drink on it, like I did, you're going to get so sick that even the thought of alcohol is going to make you want to puke after that experience. It's even to the point where if you use lotion with alcohol in it, you can get sick. But what's cool about that is it makes the decision for you. If you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I want to drink tonight, and you've taken your medication consistently, you probably have to plan that beer out, because it's not going to leave your system for about 2 to 3 weeks. So that means it gives you 2 to 3 weeks to decide if you want that beer. And by that time, that urge is going to pass. Just think about how much alcohol steals your life. It's a ton. And be honest with yourself. Just develop awareness of that. Develop a way of thinking that can put your needs first, not fun, escaping, avoidance, or alcohol. Because alcohol kind of emphasizes all those. It emphasizes fun. It emphasizes immediate gratification. It emphasizes avoidance. But we don't want to do that throughout our lifetime. Occasionally, maybe it's okay, but I would argue even then, you're leaving the door open for your brain to take you where that instant gratification wants to go. And usually, that's going to be your ego. Your ego is not your friend. Your ego wants self-importance. Your ego wants to feel included. Your ego has a lot of FOMO. It's really scared of missing out on things in life, but that is not yourself. There is potential for that to overlap, but the ego is usually where our negative voice is coming from. It's not coming from our true self, who is able to make rational decision making, who's able to conflict resolve, who's able to problem solve. We want to use that part of our brain. That is your prefrontal cortex. The other part is your amygdala, your limbic system, that reptilian brain that only really knows what threats are. In fact, that reptilian brain is only meant to be used in bursts of 90 seconds. It's not meant to be used your whole life, which is why trauma victims and people with mental health concerns are always struggling, is because they're using that amygdala. It's not meant to be used your whole life. It's meant to be used in bursts of 90 seconds. So we have to activate that prefrontal cortex. And that is what EMDR is all about. Maybe you heard of eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. EMDR is all about activating that prefrontal cortex and then moving away from that amygdala. I like to call the amygdala Amy. I always ask myself, is that Amy that's talking to me right now, or is that Tim? Usually it's Amy, and she's trying to come in and give me pointers to quote unquote protect me. but it's not going to really work very well because she only operates in the present moment and only comes in the picture when there's a threat. But unfortunately, she also doesn't know what advanced civilization is. There's not a ton of threats around in our world right now. There's a lot of perceived threats, but not a ton of threats that are happening around us that are immediate. So she responds to the threat of the perception of a threat just like it's sitting right next to you. So we can't be using Amy that much because it's going to be a very skewed and distorted perspective. You see that a ton when you're doing trauma work. If you ever look up the research or literature, the amygdala is the main area of trauma victims that is being lit up in functional MRI machines. That's why EMDR is so popular lately, because we can actually manipulate the brain energy and move it up to your prefrontal cortex so you can think about trauma events. You can think about your belief systems, about your emotions from that rational part of your brain. And we do see also that the amygdala is lighting up. Well, that amygdala is lighting up for trauma victims or for severe and persistent mental illness. That prefrontal cortex is not really doing much. And we immediately see that change when we do bilateral stimulation or EMDR. And that is something that I do quite a bit of. It's become a lifestyle for me, is EMDR. So if you are looking for it, there's something I'm able to do. I'm able to treat trauma or other mental illnesses with EMDR. We do have a little bit of a wait list on it right now, but just kind of think about that. And then also think about those brain processes in the context of alcohol use or substance use. With it being Alcohol Awareness Month, I want you to really think about, is Amy the one that really wants that drink, or is it me? And more often than not, you're probably going to realize it's your immediate gratification, that ego, and not the self. And go with what is tied to that self. Ask yourself this question. I love this question. If you're my client, you've probably heard me say it time and time again. Who am I doing this for? Do it for everything. Am I having this drink for myself? Is it for my ego? Is it for others? Is it for expectations? Just kind of ask yourself that question. Or am I saying this content to a person? Especially now we have a very politically divided world. Am I saying this for myself so I can be right? Or am I saying it to try to create awareness for that person? And you have to really sit with it, because there may not be an opportunity for awareness all the time as well. So just kind of something to think about over your next couple weeks here. Something to really sit with. I really challenge you to consider that maybe alcohol use in your life is no longer necessary. No more excuses for it either. There's a lot of things out there that can do the same thing, because the same pathways, the dopaminergic pathways that you are using with alcohol, are still used with other aspects of life that maybe give us a sense of control, like hobbies or sex, food, sleep. Just know that that is still Amy, and we want to use that PSC, that prefrontal cortex. We want to be in control of whatever it is. So continue to sit with this podcast and vlog series this week. Challenge yourself a little bit. Look at your drinking habits, not just quantity or amounts or how much daily usage you're using, but look at the consequences, the impact it's having on your health, and give yourself an honest assessment of where that's at. You might still meet requirements for a substance use disorder, even though it doesn't stem far away from the standards or societal expectations in your life. Now, I'll close with one more thing for you. One thing I love to do as a therapist that I really like to help with clients is to answer the question, what is normal? And there really isn't a normal, at least in our field. Everything in our field is very theoretical. It's not very concrete at all. So you have to get really comfortable with the uncomfortable, really comfortable with the abstract. But think about the 4 Ds. You can Google it. 4 Ds of abnormal behavior. I learned this in my abnormal psych class back in undergrad. And the 4 Ds are danger, distress, dysfunction, and deviance. So start off asking yourself, how much danger is this alcohol use causing me? Am I driving drunk? Is it causing me a potential for losing my home and shelter or losing my relationship? Is it causing distress? Are we having a lot of anxiety and depression or mood disorders? Is it causing dysfunction? Is it causing relationship dysfunction, employment dysfunction, legal problems? And then also deviance. Is it deviating from my expectations and from societal expectations? And just sit with that and let yourself process it as much as you can. Even better, meditate on it. Journal. I know it's a cliche thing for a therapist to say, but the reason it's cliche is because it works. cliche things tend to have some significant research behind them, but they do work. Better yet, read it, write it, and speak it. Anything you're doing, write what you're saying, read it out loud, and read it in your head. And it's a great way to process. So thank you for listening to Find Your True North podcast this Monday. I appreciate any input you have about this. And if this does resonate with you, please feel free to reach out to us at 715-598-1568 or check our website at www.northernwoodswellness.llc.com. If you have any questions, also email info@northernwoodswellnessllc.com and we can get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much for listening to this. We appreciate the openness and honesty, and we'll continue to see you in the weeks to come. Thank you.